How you doing? Good to see you all. I'm the regional lead, the UUA's regional lead for New England. This is my beloved companion in service, Hillary Allen, who's the manager of the Faithify project. We are I can't tell you how excited we are to be here with you. We've been dreaming about this day for 2 years now, and the hands and hearts of many people have made this day possible. You may have heard that Faithify launched yesterday. Did you hear that? And so far, over $10,000 has been raised on the site in less than 24 hours. I say, not bad. It's fantastic. So let me tell you about what this experience for the next hour or so is going to be. We're going to tell you a little bit about crowdfunding, what it is and how it works, and also how you can engage with the site. We also want you to know that we have a presentation on Saturday as a part of the GA Talks, in which we'll specifically talk about the experience of trying to innovate in our system. So we're going to be a little more on the technical side for today's conversation and a little more on the dreamy side on Saturday. So for those of you who are dreamers, please plan on joining us on Saturday. Right, Hillary?
Right.
So we're just going to go back and forth. Don't think we don't know what we're doing. This is planned chaos, as always.
So we imagine that there's probably some people in the room who still are wondering what the heck is crowdfunding. So we wanted to give you as simple a visual as possible to convey the general idea, which is that there is an idea. There are people, and then there is funding. And it just keeps going and going and going. Crowdfunding, I think some of you probably are familiar with it. Kickstarter, Indiegogo. I heard yesterday that Unitarian Universalists are the largest group using Kiva. So I'm sure a lot of you are on there too. Yeah. So this is the general idea. We have ideas. We take them to the people. We share our resources with each other. And those ideas generate more ideas.
Simple, right? The tagline of Faithify is very much on purpose. Follow, share, and fund. And the reason is that you'd kind of think with the crowdfunding site, the purpose would be about raising money, right? Which is, of course, the case. But really, we have more fundamental values even than raising cash for projects that post on Faithify. We have loftier goals than just that. Our fundamental goal is that we want to expand the imagination of Unitarian Universalists for what's possible in engagement with our world. And what better way to do that than help people bust out of the silos of their own congregations and carry their greatest ideas and their greatest hopes out into the ideasphere via this easy way to do it. So really we're about trying to shape people's imagination. We also want to help people, give me the next one because I can't remember. Yes, we want to cross generational divides by using technology that is actually a great universalist way of helping people access resources. Now, of course, we understand that there are differential access to things like broadband networks in rural areas and access to technology, but we like to think of an internet-based platform as actually equalizing access in a way that isn't always true when we talk about standard grant funders and grant sources. We also know that we have to make it easy to connect with one another, and the truth is it's not always that easy, is it? We tend to know a lot about what's happening in our own congregation and community and a little bit less about what's happening in our neighbors. You'd be so surprised to know how many folks have no sense whatsoever about the ingenuity and the dreams of their neighbors. And what Faithify attempts to do is to just lower all those walls between our communities and congregations and make it possible to seed each other's excitement and enthusiasm. It's a one-stop shop for you to get these little, to learn as much as you care to learn about other people's best ideas. It's also, of course, a way for us to spread our version of love in the world, and who doesn't want to do that? It's a way for us to carry our message of justice and love out into the wider community because, of course, we hope people who aren't Unitarian Universalists actually engage the site, whether it's your grandchildren or your grandmother or your neighbor or a random person trying to discover something about Unitarian Universalism. Faithify attempts to make it as easy as possible for them to do that. Oh yes, and we've made it as easy as possible as we know how to do to follow projects so you can actually invest in projects in a way that is about your heart and soul, not just your money, to share those projects so that when you get excited, Frida, you can, with one click, post a project you think is really cool on your Facebook page. That's pretty cool, right? Also on Twitter and Google+. So we're making it as easy as possible for you to do little acts of, dare I say, evangelism. So I want to tell you a little bit about the story of how Faithify came to pass, and hopefully it will inspire you as it has me. Now, so I am I'm for about a week more the district executive of the Clara Barton and Massachusetts Bay districts. And Faithify emerged in part because of a dream the Mass Bay district had to disseminate Woburn funds. We have this large endowment through which we give pass-through grants to congregations. And we were like, we do this in a little room all by ourselves, and we give away like $30,000 a year, yet there's only 3 or 4 people who read all that paper and decide who gets money. And we thought, that's ridiculous. There's got to be a better way. So we began to dream of a way that would allow our people to sort of learn about and vote on projects. But very little research later, it became clear that we had an opportunity for universal design. We needed to have a way of sharing the best projects that we had at our disposal with a much wider audience, and crowdfunding became the obvious solution really fast. Aren't we smart? A lot of people are smart, though, and we are not the only ones. Me and Hillary, or even our Mass Bay District team, are not the only ones who thought about crowdfunding, and probably half of you here at some point thought, wouldn't it be great to have a UU crowdfunding site? Well, this is another part of our story, because of the unique place that a district plays in our movement's cosmology, if you will. We had unique access both to congregations, but also to the resources of our institution. And so we were able to put a package of resources together that actually resulted in the, so far, our project is about $60,000. This is a good opportunity to give a shout out to our very earliest funders, the first one of which was, besides the Mass Bay District congregations, who here is from an MBD congregation, by the way? Thanks to you and your gifts to the district, you fundamentally have made this project possible, but also the Congregations and Beyond program of our UUA made a very early grant. And also the UU funding program. I'm going to embarrass Hillary. She's here. Thank you so much. Large grant from the UU funding program. And Hillary has been one of our most important thought partners right from the beginning. So props to you, dear. Also, the legacy fund that Ginny Corder and her supporters and companions last year raised at GA, another grant that supported Faithify. So right away, this is kind of a funky combination of people, isn't it? And this is one of the things we're actually thinking, is that the reason Faithify stands on strong legs is that it's not coming from any one source. I think that's really cool. So Hillary, while you're not setting up chairs, this is probably not a good time to do a transition. So let me tell you a couple of other things about our story. So a lot of you have interfaced with our Unitarian Universalist Association, right? You know about district staff, and you know about the marvelous departments we have at our UUA, and you know that in general, our UUA is focused on being developers of resources. We write curriculum, we write programs, we do coaching, but generally speaking, our UUA's pivotal role has been as a resource developer. Well, Faithify, in part, was birthed when our leaders, in this case Harlan Limpert, began to dream of a role for our association that was beyond resource development. And the analogy that he made is of the Apple App Store, where the notion of a platform that connects innovation, in this case developers, with a customer base, that all it provided was the architecture for these two entities to connect. And then you could leave it up to the expansive ideas of everyone present to decide what worked, what didn't. It wasn't pre-vetted except for basic standardization, which we do at Faithify. We have a few very basic rules. And what I think is so exciting, partly about this story, is the new role it signals for our association as a broker of relationships rather than as a developer of resources. And I am not now declaring that our UUA will never develop another resource. But I am saying that I think this is a clue about what direction we're going so that we can help you all access each other's genius. Because of course there's more genius in the crowd than there is in any staff, no matter how smart we are. Amen? That's just true. How are we doing, Hillary?
We're good.
You ready to hop up?
I am.
Go for it. You're on your phones. That's perfect.
Yes, right. So what we're discovering is I'm not able to show you the site live, so I'm going to show you what it looks like in some images that I've already saved. So this is faithify.org, our homepage, which just being able to have it released and live as of 5 p.m. yesterday feels like a great joy. And I'm hoping that you are on your mobile device or whatever you have with you, logging in as we go. You're welcome to do that. So what I'm going to be doing is showing you various parts of the site, just so that you can see kind of how we've structured things, and start thinking about what you might want to follow, share, or fund, but also what you might want to be posting as a project from your community or congregation. So also on our homepage, if you scroll down, you can see the various projects that are there. So what's mostly there right now is our inaugural group. These are 22 projects that we solicited ahead of time, so that when we launched, there was something there for you to see. These are ministries and different innovators in our community that are doing pretty phenomenal things, and we've got a really nice range from across the country. Things within congregations, but also outside the walls of a congregation, youth projects, service projects, justice, anything and everything.
Is it org on that? Org.
Faithify.org. So I just want to alert you some features you can see when you're on the homepage. You can see for each project the % funded, and then also how many days it has to go.
In advance?
Yeah. So then this takes us to an individual project page. This is Awake Ministries, some of you might recognize out of Maryland. So when you're looking at a project page, this box here on the right gives you kind of the rundown of what you need to know about individual projects. Again, this is from a few days ago, so they hadn't received any pledges yet. Now that we're launched, they have. But you can see how many funders they have, followers. Followers is essentially like when you're on Facebook and you like something. It's just saying, you know, I'm giving this my thumbs up. I want to stay informed about this. So if there are updates about that project or if it gets funded, then you receive a notice about that through your account. It gets emailed to you. And then again, you can see days to go. So these two buttons, fund and follow, are the real sort of critical place to be on Faithify. Click fund to donate to the project, and click follow to stay informed about it. And then share happens over here. Again, we have Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. Basically, you click one of those, and it'll post about this project on your social media page. So you can tell friends and family that you think this project is really great. So I want to alert you, those of you who have spent some time on the site, there's a lot of description to some of the projects. So if you want to know a lot about what people have posted, you can really spend some time there learning about how people are imagining these ministries and what kind of ideas they have. But we are really clear that for now, Faithify is a UU crowdfunding website. And so critical to our development was always the question, what makes a project UU? Right? This is our answer. This is the heart and soul of Faithify, which is all projects need to demonstrate how they claim Unitarian Universalism and how they are claimed by Unitarian Universalism. Essentially what they're demonstrating is that they're in relationship with our association, hopefully a covenantal relationship, but this is really the only place where we as staff are checking anything, okay? So when we get a notice that a project has been submitted for quote-unquote approval, this is what we go check. Did they answer these questions? So it's really on the project owner to say, this is what this means to me. This is how I'm conveying to you that this is UU, that this spreads UU values. So how is your project claim Unitarian Universalism, and how are you claimed by? We call this, did I say that? The heart and soul of Faithify. So then, once we figured that part out, we thought, well, there can be some more components to that. One of them is called endorsements. So these are people that have basically vouched for a project. they've said, you know what, I give this my stamp of approval. Here I am, here's my testimonial. So right here we're looking at Sanctuary Boston's project. They have Jim Key, our UUA moderator, Don Southworth from the UU Ministers Association, basically going on and on about how great Sanctuary Boston is. As a donor or a follower, or as the public, this stuff matters to us, right? We love to know who else thinks this is cool. So these projects have solicited these people to say, can you sort of testify on our behalf? Can you be witness to the power of our ministries? So that's endorsements. And then the second feature we have related to this is partners. So we know that projects that have deep relationships that work in an integrated way with other organizations in their communities tend to be more successful. So this allows folks to demonstrate, these are our partners, this is who we're working with. Again, this is sort of how we know, how you can know that we're going to do what we're saying we're doing. Yeah, I'm going to do some tech stuff. Will you switch to this?
We're switching.
We're switching.
Well, yeah. So we went through this a little bit, didn't we?
We did.
Should I do it again, or shall we keep
Let's
on
do it
going?
again.
Okay. There hasn't been a moment of Faithify that Hillary and I haven't tried to create as we go, so you're actually experiencing our creative process. Isn't it fun to watch?
Which, those of you who have been watching our videos already know this, right? You know us in a way. You've seen how we interact.
Actually, all kidding aside, one of the things we decided very early on is that we were going to try to have a transparent process of figuring out how on earth two religious leaders, one of whom is pretty tech savvy and one of whom is only moderately tech savvy, can actually engage entirely new technology. And so we wanted to tell the story. And those of you who spend too much time on Facebook have perhaps watched our video diaries, because we wanted to tell the story. We've flubbed up, we've told you all about it, we've freaked out, we've told you all about that. And I think part of the purpose that we're trying to engage here is learning in public. Because when people have to post their ministry projects for all to see, there's no faking. I mean, you're either going to, you put your stuff out there and people are either going to like it or not. And one of the things that's actually been a source of huge enjoyment is that we decided to do the same thing. So we've told people when we've completely messed up, when we've misspent days, and trust me, if we have enough time and you want to ask Hillary how many times she messed up, feel free. Nice, huh? Yeah, trusting. It's really essential in a work relationship. So we mentioned follow, share, and fund. And one of the things, if the first 24 hours is any indication, people really wicked get the fund part. But the follow and the share part, not so much. So let's just break this down one more time. So following is like Facebook liking, and it gives you an opportunity, first of all, just to give a little shout out to a project. You can follow as many projects as you want. And it matters to the project proposers that they have yet another person who thinks they're cool. As a part of that, you get updates from the project if they post any. So if the project owner, there's a capacity on Faithify to stay in touch with your peeps. And you just kind of type in a word or two about what's happening, and you'll get a little notice in your inbox via your email that you use to register what's happening with your project. They might say, and this, by the way, this feature doesn't end when the campaign closes. It continues on into the future. So if you're really psyched about Sanctuaries DC, you're going to continue to have a way until you opt out to learn about what they're doing. And I think that's an awesome feature of Faithify. Also, you mentioned the share part. We're going to talk in a few minutes about how many paradigm shifts are at play, we think, in the Faithify experiment. And sharing is one of them because, in traditional grant sources, your processes, your work sort of ends when you send in your grant application, right? Like how many of you have applied to the UU funding program, for example, right? Wonderful source of funds. Once you put the 4 copies in the, how many copies? 5, 3 in the manila envelope, and you send it to, I'm sorry. I've disrespected our funder in front of 50 people. Hillary, do you want to start? Oh, repair work to follow. No, I'm just kidding. But once you put your app, okay, let's pick another funder. Once you send it in, you're done, right? You hope you've made a good case and you've worked with the good people of the very wise and smart people of that grant program, trusting in their wisdom and benevolence to do the right thing and give you money. Well, in Faithify, activating your networks is key. I mean, you can post projects till the cows come home, but if you don't find a way to drive people to your project and activate your Facebook, your Twitter, your email system, your congregational announcements, your family email list, your family reunion, you're not going to raise any money. And so Faithify asks us through the sharing function to consider ways that we actually have to spread the word. And what we're asking is that we all share the enthusiasm for spreading the word. So it's not just the proposal owners who are sharing the word, but if you find something that totally makes you excited, one click gets you an easy way to tell the story of that project.
So I want to have Sue and I talk about sort of the real nitty-gritty part of this funding, which is goals and deadlines. And then give you a chance to talk to each other about whatever this is stirring in you, what this might mean for your congregation or community, if you think you might want to give it a try, just sort of what's coming up as you listen to us. So each project has to choose a timeline, which means that on Faithify, projects are only up there for a certain amount. They can choose as little as 15 or as many as 60 days. So 15, 30, 45, or 60 days. I've already talked to plenty of people who said, oh my gosh, how can you possibly ask us to be doing this in 60 days? Well, there's wisdom here. This has been learned from other crowdfunding sites. If you have a project up on there for a year, you're not able to generate the interest and mobilize people to go because it just feels like it's sort of perpetually there. The other piece I'm going to actually have Sue talk about is the financial goal setting, which is, I think, for the most part, going to be where we as a community learn the most about crowdfunding.
So different crowdfunding platforms are exposing essentially different philosophies about fundraising and how they set up the parameters of how much you can ask for and how you ask for it. Those of you who are familiar with Kickstarter, for example, basically what Kickstarter is doing is selling securities in venture projects. So in exchange for an investment, you're becoming an equity investor in the project. Like literally, there's the Treasury Department has regulations that control. Consequently, they have a whole set of procedures that have to manage that situation. Without going into what other crowdfunding sites do, I want to tell you that Faithify uses an all-or-nothing approach to funding. So is this what you wanted me to talk about?
I do.
Yeah. So what this means is that until project owners reach their goal, whatever they set it at, they will not get a single dollar. So it's all or nothing. And the reasons that we do this, there are several reasons. One of them is that you can imagine the problem of establishing a threshold for viability. So if a project is asking for $10,000 and they need $4,000 absolutely or they cannot start, what happens if they raise $3,090? In crowdfunding, the platform itself does not act like a buffer. That money, when it's not all or nothing, would go to the funders, whether or not they could do the project. So all or nothing, we ask the project owners to set the grant amount at the amount of where viability can be met. Projects absolutely can raise more than their goal. We think that many will, in fact, probably within days. But for now, it makes it easier for our donors because the accountability is like pre-established. If they meet their goal, they can do what they said they're going to do. Because otherwise, there is no such accountability. So we like to think it answers that fundamental accountability question. Consequently, you'll see goals that are really fairly modest in the all-over scope of things. Most of the goals on the Faithify projects right now are between $5,000 and $15,000, I think.
Also, it helps people, again, think realistically. What can I actually mobilize people to give in 60 days if they choose the maximum amount? We can't be putting up projects that have $100,000 budgets. This is not an operating, you're not putting your operating budget up. You're having to think, what is a discrete project that funders would actually want to contribute to, and what is the goal for that I need to set? I will tell you that this has been the most controversial part of Faithify, is the decision we made to be all or nothing. And again, we feel 100% convinced that this is the right way to go, but it may take us sort of learning what it means.
So a couple of other aspects of the site that you might be curious about. One is that we are not in charge of who posts a project. It can be an individual, it can be a group, it can be a for-profit for all the site itself cares about it. They just have to convince you, the donors, and in this small way us, that that the project claims and is claimed by Unitarian Universalism. But other than that, there is no stipulation about who the entity is that gets the money. So consequently, tax deductibility is not necessarily true. That's something that each project owner is going to communicate to you, the public, through the narrative of their proposal. That's important to remember. Faithify itself makes no claim that donations to Faithify are tax deductible.
So I want to pause and just take about 5 minutes, a little more than 5 minutes, and just turn to someone near you, one or two other people, and just share, what are you thinking? I'm sure people have questions, and we're definitely going to get there, but just what are you imagining? Is this like lighting your fire and opening up ideas? Do you think this is a disaster? Whatever you want to talk about. What would it mean to be engaging Faithify in your community?
Welcome back, everybody. Are you so excited? Tell the truth, were you actually talking about your Faithify dreams? Yes. This is so exciting. You've got plans. So who heard something that you were totally excited about? Not necessarily your idea, but who heard something? Dana, did you have your hand up? No, you're just waving at me. Hi. The president of the Northern New England District, everybody. Yay! So Hillary has the mic. Just raise your hand. We want to hear a couple of ideas of things you heard that you think are like really cool. Oh, they want swag. It's like a baseball game. We need one of those t-shirt throwers. Back here.
You want swag or you want to talk? Okay, great.
Hi, I'm from First Unitarian right here in Providence, and we run a food pantry once a month. And I thought it would be really cool to do a video and interview the people that come to our food pantry, because they're very diverse in age and backgrounds and black, white, everything, lots of languages spoken. And I don't know anything about videography, but if I had some money, then I could hire a RISD student or somebody to do the video stuff, and we could do something that for our congregation, so that they know what they're supporting, and also maybe to bring some more ideas and other kinds of services.
Great.
Can I speak to what my partner told me that I'm really pretty excited about? He's going to take all this information back to his congregation to make sure that his members there know about what this is all about. So I'm pretty excited.
We actually heard an idea today that was about a person who, I think it's a youth mission trip, and they're actually going to use Faithify during the service live in their congregation to have people raise money, because one of the things Faithify does, it sounds so simple, but you can take credit cards. And a lot of congregations don't have the capacity to do credit cards. So awesome. One more?
Okay, we'll come back to you.
So my idea was, have you heard of MOPS, Mothers of Preschoolers? It's a Christian-based mothers. It's national. They get together for a play date and then do Bible study. Now, I can't take credit for the name. Tim Atkins came up with the name PUPS, Parents of Unitarian Universalist Preschoolers. And it would be a small group ministry, and I would want to pay for a child care person once a week.
That's a great idea. Should we do one more?
Okay.
Yeah, do one more.
Our church does a homeless shelter in the wintertime, and it would be really nice to put in showers.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, do you want to provide pastoral care while I take over the mic? All right. Actually, you're the one who's talking next, so you should provide, I should provide
You should
pastoral
provide
care.
pastoral care.
But with my mic live?
The Reverend Sue Phillips. Yes. Okay, I promise we're going to get to questions and procedural points and burning issues in just a moment. But I do want to show you, which I know is important to a lot of you, that it is actually easy to use the site. It was a primary motivation for us when we were developing it, that it be intuitive as much as possible and that you not get frustrated. Because even though you all can tell I'm a young adult, I want technology to work well too. It's not just natural, right? So what I want to show you is how to post a project. So I'll tell you, I'm already logged in, and I've already created an account on WePay, which is our payment processing vendor. You have to do those two things, create an account on Faithify and create an account on WePay in order to post a project. If you don't create an account on WePay, there's nowhere for your funds to go when you have a successful project. So we make you do that before you even post. This is just the payment processing vendor is WePay. People who are funding projects can use any credit card. They cannot use PayPal, but any credit card. So I click Post a Project. Takes me to the Post a Project page where we have different resources that you can download ahead of time. We encourage you to develop your project offline first. We have a step-by-step PDF document that has every single question that's on the project entry page. We have a blank project entry page, and we have all kinds of resources. We're going to be developing more tutorial videos, but we have logos and all kinds of documents for you. But then you say, I'm ready to post, so I go to the Post a Project page. It's maybe a little small for us. So we have general things, your name, your relationship to the project title, project owner, where it's located. We have the Faithify goal, which again is that really concrete, realistic amount. And then you choose how long you want your project to be up here. We've chosen categories for projects so that people are able to find you easily. This is not about sort of capturing the very essence of your project. This is a sorting mechanism, so it's easy for people to find you. If people are all about interfaith, they want to click interfaith and find you. A short description that goes on the homepage, and then you have all kinds of options for, again, adding a lot of detail for people. Videos, images, links to other things. This full description box here lets you go on for as many words as you can possibly want to, or as few. And then again, our essential questions here. How does your project claim, and how are you claimed by Unitarian Universalism? And we have partners and endorsements, and then perks. Those of you who are familiar with crowdfunding know that this is a key feature. We included this on Faithify because people told us it was essential for them. So this is where you offer rewards in the form of, swag, T-shirts. Say you're trying to publish a book, the people could get a copy of the book as a reward for giving, and you can set those at incremental levels. So if you give $500, you get this. If you give $20, you get this. You can also save your project as you go. You can save the draft and come back to it later. And then when you click submit, that lets Sue and I know that you are ready to go. We take a quick look, make sure that everything's there, and that you've told us how it's about Unitarian Universalism, and then we click publish, and you are live on faithify.org. Easy, right?
Totally.
Cool.
Also, you can integrate multimedia throughout all of these. Almost all of the questions allows you to embed pictures or video at any point. So it's easy to do that as well. Are we ready for some questions?
We're ready.
Okay. First of all, I'm betting one of the first questions we're going to get is, what does it cost? What are the fees? Does anybody care about that? Yes. You don't? Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about that. So you're probably familiar with crowdfunding, where the payment processing vendor, you may not know that's what it is, but that's what it is, takes a cut, and then the site itself takes a cut. On Faithify, the only fee is that charged by the payment processing vendor, which is WePay, as I mentioned, and it's 2.9% of the donation plus 30 cents. Why 30 cents? I have no idea. But 2.9% plus 30 cents, it all goes to WePay. There is no fee. Faithify charges no fee. So that's the only thing that comes out of your donation. I appreciate your affirmation, and I want to say one of the reasons we can do that for now is because of the generosity of our funders. So, and the subsidy, the subsidy of our time, because our association and your dues is paying for your staff time, and it's just really important to just come out and say that. Also, I really want you to know that every time you check out, you are given an opportunity to give 10% of your donation to our Unitarian Universalist Association, which I strongly encourage you to consider this act of stewardship because, in part, first of all, because we are connected to one another, and also because those of us who are congregational leaders know darn well that when people are given an opportunity to only fund the project of their choice, like the cool, sexy thing, they sometimes can value that over giving to the organization's core mission. And so this opportunity to provide a gift to our association recognizes the value of that core mission on top of these special projects, right?
10% out of the donation or 10% over the donation?
It's over the donation. 10% over the donation, and it's paid for by the donor. Okay, so should we open it up? Why don't you start, Hillary?
All right.
What's Faithify's operating budget so that you can continue to not charge us fees?
Question is, what is our operating budget for Faithify so that we can continue to not charge fees?
So Faithify is a gift of the Massachusetts Bay District to their cousins in faith throughout the country. And the truth is, yes, I mean, props to Mass Bay. And the district is the congregations of Massachusetts Bay. I mean, those are the folks who have contributed the funds that are allowing us to do that. And that will continue to be true. Mass Bay and now the New England region will house the staff effort, and that's by far the majority of our time, now that the site is developed. We will need to raise some funds for additional tweaks on the project. We have big dreams about what happens next, including making Faithify more and more of a one-stop shop for a lot of these small pot funding sources we have across the country. For example, chalice lighter programs. We see Faithify as, I'm just going to come out and say it, there's no reason for chalice lighter programs now that Faithify can connect individuals to projects they're passionate about. And chalice lighter programs come with, first of all, a cost and also an opportunity cost. So it's an example of the kind of thing that might want to switch over to Faithify. But can you scroll down on the page? But we know that funders, and not just chalice lighters, but there are a host of other funding programs in our movement, right? You see this something like this banner. We're going to be working to expand our capacity to help donors identify themselves to the public so that when they make a major donation via Faithify, the whole world can see it. So that next time around, this might say Woburn Fund, or it might say PNWD Chalice Lighters or something like that. So that's an example. And then one step further down the line, I totally dream of, this is crowdfunding, I dream of crowdsourcing, where we're connecting congregations and people with skills that congregations need to advance their ministry. So that if you are an accountant and you can help a couple of congregations get their books in order, we'll have a place for you to make that skill known and match it with the need. So those are the kinds of things we dream about next.
So we're going to get to questions in just a moment because Paula's going to help me pass the mic. And I wanted to give a special shout out to Paula and also Jolie, who are here with the Faithify t-shirts on.
Yay.
So, So if you see somebody in this t-shirt and you were with a friend or someone from your congregation and you were trying to explain what you learned here today and you're having trouble, come find us at the Faithify table in the UUA Expressway or find one of us in these t-shirts. Our entire purpose for being here this week is to get you informed and aware of Faithify. So feel free to ask as many questions as possible. Like now.
Okay, three little questions. One, if a 501c3 organization conducts a Faithify project for a non-501c3 corporation, would they still be tax deductible, the donations? Who would be responsible for providing donors with documentation for tax purposes, and would they have to deduct any sort of gifts you give as the pot sweeteners?
Oh, it's really between the project owner and their donors. The donor relations aspect of this whole project is on the project owners, squarely on their lap. So anything that needs to be communicated about recognizing gifts and/or determining or clarifying the tax deductibility of gifts needs to come from the donor, not from Faithify. Faithify makes no representation about the tax deductibility. Pardon me? The donee, yes, thank you. Hillary, do you want to be the MC?
Sure.
What if?
Put them up real high so I can see them.
What if the project does not fit one of your categories?
There's an other category, so if it doesn't fit other, what could it be?
Other isn't very sexy.
So, but I do want to highlight that we're clear that this is in development still, right? This just launched yesterday. We've done our best guess, but if you really feel like something doesn't meet you, you're just, you need a new category, let us know. There's a contact form on the website, comes right to me. Let us know what you need. I do want to reiterate this, okay? Because we had this with the inaugural group. This is not about capturing every nuance of your beautiful project. It is a sorting feature for the public to find you easily. It is not about sort of the most authentic representation of every detail of your project. So try and think, how would I want people to find me, not what is my project about? Okay, Mary Helen. Oh, sorry, you got the mic.
Just a quick question. I'm curious if you have seen any correlation between amount of audio visual stuff included and the donor amounts, and if so, what are some examples of the more effective audio-visual pieces?
Why don't you mention that? I'll throw up one of the videos.
So this is a guess. We don't know yet, but I'm pretty sure that I can promise you that if you spend some time on having engaging photographs and a short, clear video, not long. If your video is 9 minutes, do not post it. You heard me say it, okay? 2 minutes. Our Faithify video is 1 minute and 20 seconds.
So I'm just going to let this play in the background so you can see the kind of thing. But helping motivate our congregations and communities develop high-quality ways of communicating with others, which is, of course, what these videos are, is part of the purpose of Faithify. So, there's a couple that are really outstanding on the site.
So this is Sanctuaries DC, and I just wanted to check. It's 1 minute and 17 seconds.
Who did you call on, Hillary?
Sorry, Mary Helen right here. Yep, that's her.
Two questions. One, do you envision in the future being able to flag your project with more than one category, or is it just a one?
As many as you want.
It's right. Oh, it is now as many as you want. So that's the indexing tool available to projects. Okay, thank you. And then the second question, very briefly, is: are there best practices clarifying yet, and where do we turn for support to identify a discrete project, or to kind of get boundaries around best practices for how to make these projects successful?
Great.
Yeah, that's going to be a continued area for development for us, sort of post-launch. And our first group for doing that will be the inaugural people. So they've already been through this. They'll have been sort of seasoned at it, and we're going to be recruiting them to counsel. And that'll be in the form of videos, but also sort of documents to download. We'll probably do webinars at some point for people to talk about just what they've learned. And for people, right now we're available to you for that, but we want it to be more shared, so it's not just Sue and I. So ways for you all to kind of coach each other and do that kind of, what's the word? Sort of workshopping it with each other. Yeah. Mentoring, yep. Okay. Please. Raise them up high. I can't see the hands very well. How about here in the turquoise? Thank you.
Thanks. Two-parter. How many people are your inaugural projects so far?
22 projects are on right now, and that was last time I checked, so somebody might have posted already.
Okay, and I see you have ways to sort it by most funded or most visited, most followed or something. Is there going to be a way to find the local projects, or do you think that might be a category?
It is our hope that you're able to eventually search a lot of different things at the same time. So I want to look at service projects in Southwest, or I want to look, we're hoping to have those be able to be searchable at the same time, so you can choose multiple things to really find what you want. It doesn't have that feature. It doesn't have that feature right now. It does have an open search, so if you search for some word, joy, it'll come up that way, but we don't have the exhaustive search functions that we want to have.
I didn't even know it could do this, but I did just search on Boston and California, and it sorted properly, so that's,
Okay.
who knew?
Hands up high.
So one longer question. Quick question is from the time you submit, how long a review process? And then the longer question is, I'm really curious about what your accountability and evaluation process is going to be. How are you going to assure the world that these projects are taking place and taking place well?
So the first one is we have promised 12 hours, no more than 12 hours for review. It will be quicker than that, I promise you, because Sue and I are online a lot more than that, but that's what we felt like we could assuredly say. The second one, the quick answer is we don't. We don't make assurances. Faithify is about brokering the relationships and being the platform. We are not the accountability mechanism. We're not promising that.
And it's not because we don't care about accountability, it's because that's not our mission. Our mission is to provide the relationship connection.
You began earlier talking about Apple as a model.
Oh dear.
And I was thinking that this is something that could get cluttered very quickly. And one of the genius elements of Apple is that they have a very central design motif. And I'm wondering if you would think about trying to come up with what is the design focus that'll make the Faithify itself distinctive and help reduce this kind of, whoa, too much information stuff.
Any other questions about the site as it is?
How is it sorted? Right, and these are sorted in a certain way. How is that done?
So it is not clear to me how they are sorted right now. When I was publishing them, I thought they were being sorted by the longest running came first. But if you go halfway down the page, that breaks up a little bit, and we've got a 60-day campaign right down in the center of the page. So that was happening so close to launch that I was not able to research that with the developers to find out why that was happening.
That's a prime spot right there.
Yeah, so, and actually, this was a concern for the inaugural folks. Where am I showing up on the page? Turns out, so far, doesn't matter. Because people have mobilized people to go give to their projects, right? They're out in the hallway passing you a card, or they're at worship last night saying, we have a project up on Faithify, so people go and find that project. Actually, this one down here at the bottom, which I'll tell you they were not happy being there, is getting a lot of funding.
From a lot of different people.
How do you want it?
I am actually going to spare you from that. I have a lot of plans. If you really want to see my notes for how it's going to be developed further, I'd be happy to show them to you, but there's a lot there. Yeah.
It's a good question, though. It's a good question.
I understand how to explain that my project is a UU project, but what do I do to get UU, whoever that is, to say that they claim me? I don't understand the second part of that. Do I get my congregation to say, yeah, this is really a UU and this is really, is that what you do?
Let's turn this over to the group. So let's say you were a donor and you wanted to know, and what's your name?
Sibella.
Sibella. Did I get that right?
Sibella.
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 I'm making it Italian and you didn't. Okay, so let's say, what could she say to help you know that she was claimed by Unitarian Universalism? You could just shout it out. We'll repeat it. Endorsements? Church. Connection to a congregation? How would you know if she was connected to a congregation? She'd just say so. That would be enough for you. What else? If the president said so? Yeah? Endorsement? connection to one of our principles. What else? A quote, references, checkable references.
Have a little symbol there, the chalice.
Certification.
So, and I want to draw this out because we could have easily answered this question, right? What makes a project UU by saying people have to show they're connected to a congregation. That would have been such an easy fix, right? But there are ministries that happen that are beyond the walls of a congregation. There are new ministries emerging all the time that are not connected to congregations. We hope they will be, but we know they aren't always. So we wanted to have it be broader than just, here's the congregation that's given me a letter.
Although if that's what you've got,
Yeah,
that's what you've got.
And that's great.
I was late, so I apologize if you've already talked about this. But when you make a project on the topic of mobilizing people to find your project and give to it, is there a feature on the site where you can share your project on your Facebook page or your Twitter or something like that? It is there. Okay, great.
What's the answer, everybody?
Yes! Thank you, sorry. That's okay, right here.
So Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and then we also have the URL and the embed code. If that means anything to you, you can pull that there too.
And you just might notice already that this project has 12 shares on Facebook, which in less than 24 hours is not bad, is it?
Hi. I'm curious about when a project becomes big enough that it is no longer a project but its own thing. So when Awake Ministries has, enough of an operating budget that you're not going to fund Awake Ministries anymore, but you're going to fund something else. Where do you draw the line between operating versus project budget?
To me, you draw the line really early. So I've already told people that have talked to me, this is not about operating budgets. This is a part of some project you want to do. So Awake Ministries could say, we want to travel to this other place and learn this way of offering music from this group of people. We need this travel budget, $5,000. Really discrete, small, realistic amounts. Do not put $100,000. Okay.
And so what Hillary is sharing now, and this is a little bit of a challenge for us at this early stage, is because this is what we think we understand from the conventional wisdom about crowdfunding. This is not a limitation from the site itself. It's just what we think is good. Although we will try to help our wider community learn about what works as time goes on. So I don't mean to say that you're not right, only that this is Hillary, the crowdfunding emergent expert, that's offering good advice.
I'd like to go back to chalice lighters. You talked about them briefly, and it sounded as though your plan was to go past them and render them unnecessary. Mm-hmm. Chalice lighters is a program that's UU-wide and has been around for a while, and I think just putting them out of business is not a good plan. So I'm curious to see if you have more ideas about what your thinking has been about chalice lighters.
Sure. So the goal would not be to put chalice lighters out of business, and of course we would not have the power to do that. All we've done is create a mechanism that could make that kind of locationally rooted transaction between individual supporters. Because remember, one of the real benefit of chalice lighters is it gives individual donors a way to contribute, and that's actually not very it hasn't proliferated in our movement outside your own congregation or to our UUA. It's very hard for an individual donor to give to another UU project that they care about. My imagination for Faithify is simply that this could be a way to have the same functions as chalice lighters. But there are some districts with very powerful chalice lighter identities and programs. There are chalice lighter programs that raise $25,000 and $30,000 per call. And of course, folks would be understandably reluctant to disrupt that tradition if that's the kind of success they've seen. My goal is simply to frankly be disruptive about the assumptions that people are bringing to doing things the old way when there are easier, potentially more cost-effective and efficient ways. So really, it's just an opportunity to change. We don't have a secret plan to eliminate chalice lighter programs.
I'm over here. I'm kind of hidden. My question is, at this point,
is there a way to record matching funds if a donor wants to either make a matching donation, or if you come to with the project saying that there's going to be a matching donation, that it would show up under the funded or in the percent funded?
So you wouldn't be able to see that here on the homepage. You could definitely detail all of that on your project page and let folks know that, because that's going to be a really good motivator. The funds have to be transferred. If you're trying to count it towards your goal, because it's all or nothing, this is people have asked me, can I send a check? It doesn't, WePay doesn't know that happened, so it doesn't count towards your goal. But if you want to say, the reason we have $5,000 as our goal is because we also have a match, someone has come forward to match that 5,000, so we could have 10. Definitely state that, but there's not a way to. If it's not happening on the site, then it's not getting tracked anywhere. Anybody? Somebody's got the mic. I just want to make sure, if you feel like you've had your hand up a long time and haven't got your question answered, be sure we get to you.
If a project doesn't meet its threshold, how is the money refunded to people who've made a contribution?
It's actually not refunded, it's just never charged, which again is one of the reasons there's this time limit, because there's a thing with credit cards called melt, where you get a new card, or your expiration date comes around or whatever, and so 60 days being the longest allows us to avoid that melt. So that's another reason why we have all or nothing.
I have some very quick clarification questions. Is the transaction fee per pledge or for the whole total? So if I make a pledge for $50 for this, is it 2.9% and 30 cents of my $50, or is it of the entire goal?
Oh, no, it's of your gift.
No, I'm not going to be charged 2.5% of the entire goal, but is that 30 cents going to be coming from each pledge or across the total?
Yes, each
Okay.
pledge, yeah.
If a project exceeds its goal in its time period, does it stop at the goal, or does it keep going to the time?
Sky's the limit.
Okay. And are you looking into subscriptions?
Say another sentence about what you mean.
Subscriptions?
Yeah.
Like the Patreon model?
I'm sorry, like what?
Like the Patreon model?
Oh, where you could give monthly or something like that. We'll add that to the list of things to have a look at.
I do want to say one more thing is this is on my list that I told you about future development. Right now, you're not able to have a shopping cart. So when you go on here, this is same as Kickstarter too. You're making one transaction at a time. So if you want to fund multiple projects, you have to go to that project and complete the transaction and then go to the next one. Because the reason for that is because there's these time limits. If a project ends in 15 days and another one ends in 60 and you're trying to fund both of them at the same time, WePay can't keep track of which one they can charge and which one they have to wait until it's successful. So down the line, if we can completely change how payment processing happens, we may be able to have a shopping cart. But for now, you do one transaction at a time if you're funding.
So this is an example of what the cart looks like. It's actually, remember she made it bigger, so the formatting doesn't quite look right, but this is what the formatting
Wow,
is.
$1,000, Sue?
Yeah,
Wow.
coming right out of your pocket. Wow. But you can see it's with one. This is the place where you add your donation to our UUA.
Oh, I'm giving $1,000. Great, thank you.
It's instead of your bonus. You just give your money to your project.
All right, who's got the mic here?
I do. Can I see the category list again? Because I'm going to suggest that you add women to your categories.
Thank you.
And see the contact button up there? You just click that. Anything you want to tell me, you just put right here and I will get it. So keep us informed of what you think we need.
So can you so if I set up my project for 60 days, whether it goes or it doesn't go, can I repost it for another 60 days and then another 60 days? Say I get an overwhelming response and I think, wow, actually I could probably, with this overwhelming response, I could double what I'm thinking about doing. Could I just post it again, the same thing?
Yeah, so we get this question a lot. You can run the project again over and over again to your heart's content. My guess is you may find you might need to tweak something a little bit, or you will encounter what's called donor fatigue. You can also run as many projects at the same time as you want. So if you have one of those, projects that has different parts to it, this part needs 5,000, this part needs 600, you can post those at the same time. But again, just because you posted your project on Faithify doesn't mean it's a done deal. You have to mobilize people to that. And if you've got 6 projects up, it's going to be hard for them to get around and make sure they funded you on all of those.
Just a curiosity, do you anticipate a point at which you are getting so many submissions that you're going to have to hire somebody to help you read submissions, which may cause you to add a cost to the submission?
Yes, I think it's possible, and of course we hope that that day will come, and we will address that when we come. The site is fully able for us to take a fee. It's actually very easy to change. We're trying not to do that for as long as possible, but it is possible that we would need to do that at some point.
We also might need to have more in-house tech support. Right now we're contracting with developers to do the technology. We might want to be doing that more in-house. So I see Mary Helen with her hand up. Who's got the mic? Yeah.
I'm just curious as to why you're not using PayPal, because it's the more popular pay site.
There's something so we're using WePay because of a lot of different reasons, but that's the choice we made for our payment processing vendor. And there's something about having WePay be the place where the transactions happen, and people using PayPal, they don't talk to each other well. It's on the top of the list for the really sort of like nuts and bolts cart issues post-launch. That we're going to explore more because we know people are using PayPal, but for right now, WePay and PayPal can't talk to each other, so we can't use it.
This may be getting too much, but there's another issue that PayPal is actually a real pain in the bottom to set up an account. You have to go through like 12 screens. WePay it's a piece of cake comparatively, and WePay allows us to integrate with our site. So technically you leave our site to set up a WePay account, but it doesn't look like it to you. It's a little pop-up, and WePay, it does not look like that, so it's a little more integrated. It's prettier, Aisha. Yeah, pretty is important.
Mac.
So I've been looking at it on my iPhone, and I can't follow anything.
Mac, you are not telling us a major problem with our site in front of 75 feet. Mac is on the staff of the Aspect District.
All right. Do I have, okay, well, that's the question then. Do I have to I have to become, or what?
Yeah, so you can't do any functions on the site, follow, share, or fund, without being logged in.
Okay, and I can't figure out how to log in on my iPhone. But I was really creating an opening here for you to talk about the app.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
So the site is mobile responsive, which means that those of you who are looking at it on your smartphone, everything's shrunken down very nicely. Yes. Okay, so I'll just give you a hint. When you're on the mobile site on your phone, you got to scroll all the way down to the footer, the blue section, and there will be buttons for login and register. They are not in what's called a hamburger, those little lines that opens up the menu. You have to go down to the footer. Again, just one of those little surprises that happened a couple days before lunch.
Here's the hamburger right here.
Okay, burning questions about Faithify.
One quick one, actually 2 quick ones. Can I, if I register not affiliated with a congregation, can I then change my registration, or do I only have the opportunity to say that in my proposal? That's one question.
As a project owner, or as just a registrant on the site?
Just a registrant on the site, like if I'm going to create an account.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can create an account and you can edit this, go back to profile up in the
You
top
can go
right,
and
and you
edit
can
your
change that information at any time.
Thank
When
you.
you go to post a project, that project is connected to a user account. The Faithify has to know who's posting it. But you can, a lot of those fields are open, and you can say, this is with a different congregation than I belong to, or things like that.
Thank you. Okay, and then the other quick question is, with those banners that say inaugural, what are you envisioning is going to be in those banners for projects post-launch? Or how is that going to be used or changed, or, again, with that privileging of location or flags or... Yeah. You know.
We are not sure, but we thought it was cool and we wanted it. As we keep developing the site, so for example, Mass Bay District is going to run its Woburn Fund grant-making program through Faithify, so the flags will say Woburn Fund. A project funded by Woburn Fund. Yes. So as we develop it, it's possible that when Peter Morales or Jim Key will choose a project that some fund is going to go to, and so then it'll have the Jim Key flag on it. But we wanted it to be there because it felt important for people to be able to see things and find things, but it's definitely how it evolves, we're not quite sure yet.
So before you take another question, I'm sorry, I just want to lift up Peter Bowden. Where are you, Peter? So Peter just did a great benevolence. He noticed a problem with the site, a little tweak where our Twitter button is not actually connected to our current Twitter account, but to our old name. I won't mention it, so I don't want you to be confused. This is the kind of thing that is very helpful for us. So thank you to Peter, another companion of ours for the last couple of years. This is the kind of thing you would also want to email via the contact sheet. So we, despite the fact, well, feel free to share when you discover tweaks. This is an opportunity for those of you who are inaugural proposers. They have been our great partners in finding out little bugs we didn't know about and sharing them. Because remember, cast a benevolent eye, if you would, on this experiment. This is just an experiment, and we're doing the best we can, and we're very proud of the site, and we have a lot left to learn. So this is so helpful, and I consider it a gesture of faith in the importance of our project. So thank you, Peter, and everybody else who shares ideas.
You still have time?
Doug, yeah, quickly, please.
Quickly, well, you mentioned Woburn Grant Fund a couple of times. Have you talked about the advantage of doing it over? I mean, the reduction in volunteer hours needed, you've talked about all that?
No. Why don't you say a word or two about it?
Well, we all know that if our districts run special grant programs, and the Chalice Lighter program, again, it takes a lot of time and energy. To the extent that it's put onto Faithify, and I love Chalice Lighters too, so you reduce the amount of time, the administrative time of volunteers. So a Woburn Grant Selection Committee does not have to be established to award the grants. People do it by contributing on Faithify.
That doesn't quite make sense to me. The Woburn Grant has a fund, so how does that fund get dispersed?
So the way this might work, and this is not established, but this is just a dream part, where in the future, the Massachusetts Bay District Board, for example, is going to be responsible for disseminating Woburn funds. And they might put out a call to everyone who's eligible that says, within this time period, the people who get the most followers are going to get $5,000. The top 5 followers will get $5,000 apiece. The top 5 sharers will get another $5,000, and the top 5 the people with the most donors will get another 5. So you can structure that any way you want, but so the money actually in that case wouldn't necessarily pass through Faithify because of the follow and share function. So there's malleability there that could be used in service of another grant program. But we have yet to discover that. Hey, we're at the end of our time. Do you have something you want to say, or should I close this out?
We're going to chant to close us out.
What are we going to chant?
Faithify.
Thank you for coming, everybody. We'll see you on faithify.org.